Hi, everyone. Hola, buenas tardes. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Lili Vieira de Carvalho. I'm the Executive Director of VLAC, the Vancouver Latin American Cultural Center. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that we are hosting this event from the unceded lands of the Musqueam, the Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh nations. I would like to encourage all of you to read and understand the history of this land and the people who have been taking care of it for thousands of years and what it means for you to be here. There is a fascinating resource that I'm sharing in the chat. I'm going to ask Angela to do that for me. It's Beyond 94. That's a website that monitors the progress on the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's 94 call to action. We saw the Pope in Canada this week, and an apology from the Pope is one of the 94 calls to action. VLAC is a nonprofit organization with the mandate of sharing a deeper understanding of Latin American arts and cultures. Our goal is to establish the first cultural center for Latin American arts in Canada right here in Vancouver. If you still don't know about our organization, please visit our website. Angela, who is helping us today, we'll add the link to the chat. We added your email to our newsletter list when you register for this event, and you will receive news about our programming a couple of times a month. I would also like to acknowledge and our gratitude from the support of the Writers' Union of Canada, the City of Vancouver, the government of British Columbia, and the federal government to this program. And naturally, all the donors and our members who contribute annually. Today's format will be simple. Carmen will kick off the conversation, and after that, we'll open the floor to questions and comments from all of you. Feel free to unmute your microphones and raise your hand when you have something to say. I will be help moderate the conversation to give all of you a chance to speak. This event is also being streamed to Facebook Live and recorded for our archives. So feel free to keep your camera off if you prefer, although we love to see your faces. So I am excited to introduce you to VLAC's honorary elder, Carmen Rodriguez. Carmen is a Chilean-Canadian bilingual writer and the award-winning author of a volume of poetry, a collection of short stories, and 2 novels. Atacama, her latest novel, which was published in September of last year, just obtained an honorary mention of the International Latino Book Awards in the Best Historical Novel category. And next month, Carmen will be traveling to Los Angeles to receive that award. Congratulations on that, Carmen. Carmen also has an extensive career as an educator and journalist, including work in adult literacy and popular education, particularly with indigenous peoples and other marginalized communities in the Americas. Bienvenida, Carmen.
Muchas gracias. Welcome, everybody. I can see people from Mexico, Nino from Puerto Vallarta, Julie from the United States. Hola, Julie. Alma Lee from here from Vancouver, my dear friend, founder of the Writers Festival here in Vancouver and former director of the festival and of the Writers Union of Canada. So many friends, so many beautiful faces. Thanks for taking time out of this beautiful day here in Vancouver, at least, and spending your lunch hour with us, with VLAC and with me. I would like to also thank the Writers Union of Canada and the Canada Council for the Arts who are contributing to this reading. Let me tell you a little bit of the story behind this reading. Next October, I will be starting a 3-month residency at historic Joycogawa House here in Vancouver. And this residency will allow me to work on 2 manuscripts, one of poetry and another one of short stories. For those of you who don't know about historic Joycogawa House, this is the actual house where writer and national treasure, Japanese-Canadian Joycogawa lived as a little girl, and the place from which she and her family were uprooted to be sent into an internment camp in the interior of British Columbia during World War II. And for over a decade now, Kogawa House has served as a home for writers and artists, and also as a beacon for social justice, so that those kinds of events don't happen again, hopefully. Well, as you may know, I have dedicated a good part of 20 years now to writing two novels, Retribution, which was published in 2011. I'm a little slow. And Atacama in 2021. But in between drafts and when I got stuck or fed up, I would turn to my other loves, which are poetry and short story writing. I also started to write children's stories and some essays. But this particular residency will allow me to work on the poetry and the short stories mainly. So today what I want to do is to share some of this new material with you. Afterwards, we'll have a chance to talk, and I would love to have your feedback, honest feedback. Another thing is that between September of last year and April of this year, together with my friend and colleague, visual artist and writer Daphne Blanco Sarlai, we displayed our work at Marple Neighborhood House here in Vancouver through an installation that we call Trasiego, which brought together her art and my poetry. Also, there were other elements of the installation, a short video that you can actually see on my website, carmenrodriguez.ca, and other elements like branches that we harvested from Trout Lake, the park that we have here in East Vancouver, an old suitcase that I brought from Chile when my mom passed away, that she had kept from the 1940s, and so on. So all of these things came together in this installation called Trasiego, which is a Spanish word that means relocation, transfer, transposition, uprooting, rerooting. So the installation was called that, Trasiego, the multiple voices and languages of uprooting and rerouting. The reason I'm telling you this is because I'm hoping, we're hoping to reinstall Trasiego at historic Joy Kogawa House this fall. So I will keep you posted. And if we're able to do this, then I will invite you to come and visit. So I'm going to start then with the poem that we included in that installation, which I called Hogar, home. I planted the orphan life of my exile in the generous soil of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Musqueam land. Grew a heart, a tongue, a home, hogar anew, on the unceded, stolen, and reserved land of
Hello. Good.
Tsleil-Waututh, Musqueam. Also, as part of Trasiego, this poem called Travesías. Viajamos de vida en vida, rebosando palabras, imágenes, revuelos, hogares, añoranzas. Doblamos esquinas, cruzamos umbrales, concebimos tiernos futuros. Journeys. We journey from life to life, overflowing with words, images, flutters, hearths, yearnings. We turn corners, cross thresholds, conceive fresh futures. Often people ask, why do you write? What is it about writing that absorbs your life or you dedicate so much time to doing? Well, it's a passion. It has to be a passion, right? If you're really going to dedicate a lot of your life to doing it. But there's also this, in me anyway, this desire to put some order into things. You know, life can be chaotic, but language is linear and it's orderly. And there's something then about language that helps me to get some clarity on what life is about. So I wrote this poem called Life Happens, I Happen. Sucede la vida, con mayúsculas. Sucede la vida, sucedo, en desorden alfabético, ramilletes momentáneos, puñados de universos, soles, planetas infinitos que pretendo, ansío comprender, clasificar, archivar, vanos intentos de convencerme de que hay un orden, mientras sucede el desorden analfabético de la vida. Sucedo, caótica, desamparada, instantánea, yo, ya. Life happens, I happen, in alphabetical disorder, fleeting clusters, handfuls of universes, suns, planets, infinities I pretend, yearn to understand, file, classify, pointless efforts to persuade myself that there is an order, while this illiterate disorder of life happens. I happen, chaotic, defenseless me, instantaneous me, I, now. Well, I was telling you that one of my new things while I was in between being stuck with the novels or fed up with the novels was to start writing some children's stories. So this one only exists in Spanish for now, and I'm going to read just a little excerpt. It's called Muchacho, and it was inspired by a dog that my mom had in Chile, and that in a way replaced the grandchildren that she could not be with anymore after I and my brother left Chile because of the coup in '73. Now, as a grandmother myself, I have come to realize what a tragedy that was for her and for my dad as well. They were very, very close to the grandchildren. And actually, for a good part of that part of our lives, we lived together in one big house. And what it must have been like, right? For the grandchildren, for us and the grandchildren in particular, to leave so suddenly like that, and with no prospect of going back. So after that, she had 3 muchachos in a row, 3 puppies that she called muchacho. When one muchacho died, then the next dog was also called muchacho, and so the next one also. I got to meet the 3rd muchacho. Anyway, so this story is inspired by Muchacho. It is called Muchacho, and it's about this doggy who is this old lady's pet, and how they talk and they go through their days. And finally, one day she passes away, and he waits for her to get up and get on with the day, but she doesn't. So the neighbors come to tell him that she's gone to the sky to live with the stars. And soon after then, and he gets so upset that all he does for weeks on end is howl and wake everybody up in the middle of the night and make everybody really unhappy and so on. So finally, one day a letter comes, and it's the old lady's family that has invited Muchacho to come to Vancouver to meet the family, but particularly to meet the first great-grandson of his master. So Muchacho, all the neighbors help him to get set up, and he climbs on a cloud and comes to Vancouver. So I'm going to read you in Spanish a piece of this story. Una mañana de enero, Muchacho esperó y esperó a que la señora Aurora saliera de su casa, pero en vez los vecinos llegaron a contarle que su ama y amiga se había ido a dormir con las flores junto a don Manuel. Muchacho casi se murió de pena, y así fue como día tras día y noche tras noche aulló y aulló sin parar, rompiéndole el corazón y la paciencia a todo el vecindario. Entonces, un día cuando ya estaba por acabarse el verano, don Marcos, el cartero del pueblo, le trajo un sobre celeste con una estampilla roja, el cual contenía una carta que decía así: Querido Muchacho, te escribimos para invitarte a que vengas a Vancouver, Canadá, a celebrar con nosotros la llegada del primer bisnieto de tu ama y amiga Aurora. Te esperamos. Besos y abrazos, la familia de Aurora. Muchacho se puso contentísimo con la noticia y sin pensarlo dos veces aceptó la invitación. Los vecinos también se alegraron sobremanera, porque el perrito se recuperó como por arte de magia de la tristeza que lo había aquejado por tanto tiempo y volvió a ser el muchacho juguetón y alegre de antes. Además, dejó de aullar, así es que por fin el barrio pudo volver a dormir en paz. Dado que Muchacho no hacía nada en preparación para el viaje, fuera de andar feliz de la vida dando saltos y ladrando como buen perro que era, los vecinos decidieron darle una mano. La señora Mafalda le confeccionó un elegante terno a la medida de paño color chocolate. Don Fermín le hizo a mano un par de botas de charol con cierres de bronce a los costados. Margarita le tejió calcetines, un gorro y mitones de suave y cremosa lana de cabra. Y don Antonio le regaló un juego de camiseta y calzoncillos largos de franela blanca a lunares rojos. Le alistaron un buen cocadí y un día de marzo, Muchacho le dijo adiós a su casita, a los jazmines, las madreselvas, los naranjos y los vecinos. Se percató de que el viento estuviera de sur y entonces se montó sobre una mullida nube de algodón blanco con mejillas arreboladas y salió rumbo a Vancouver. Bien acomodado en su nube, Muchacho se elevó por encima del limache. Abajo quedaban, como si fueran de juguete, el campo verde, las calles empedradas, los techos de tejas rojas y la plaza del pueblo, enmarcada por el encaje púrpura de los jacarandás. El río Aconcagua se apareció a la distancia, brincando por las altas quebradas de la cordillera de los Andes, bañando entonces ancho y tranquilo valles cargados de fruta y alcanzando finalmente la fulgurante costa del océano, una interminable extensión de azul. Muchacho continuó camino al norte, siguiendo siempre ese borde espumoso que marca el encuentro de la tierra con el mar. Por un momento quiso volver a su querido pueblo. Se le apretó el corazón y un lagrimón le rodó por la cara. Pero entonces se acordó de que su ama y amiga Aurora ya no estaba ahí para mimarlo. Entonces decidió sacarse la pena de adentro con unos buenos aullidos. ¡Aú! Vociferó Muchacho hasta el cansancio. ¡Aú! Ni supo cuando se le cerraron los ojos y abrigado por el manto esponjoso de su nube, se sumió en un profundo sueño. To be continued. What I want to read next is part of a short story called Legacy. It also exists in Spanish, and it's called Legado in Spanish, but I'm going to read a piece, the beginning, in English. Legacy. Mr. Pigley cannot hide his delight when he hears that in Belize, the physical punishment of children is not only legal, but also a source of pride for the inhabitants of the land. Shut up right now or I'll smack you until my hand falls off, he warns Pigley Girl as he spreads out the sausages that complete the pinkish chump of his right hand. You already heard what the young lady said. Here, I can slap you around as much as I want, and nobody's gonna call the cops, he adds, winking to the tourist guide and twisting his mouth in a smirk that pretends to pass for a smile. Mr. Pigley, Mrs. Pigley, Pigley Girl, and other 30+ tourists are on board a retired Greyhound bus en route to the Altunja Mayan ruins, 50 kilometers north of Belize City. The gods are crying. Torrents of water lash the windshield and the windows of the rickety vehicle. Pigley Girl is shrieking on her mother's lap. The tourist guide, her hair flattened down in an effort to hide her African origin, swaggers about. The physical punishment of children when they misbehave is the only way to ensure that they don't do it again. No more tantrums, no more scandals, no more brats, period. This is the best legacy that British civilization bestowed on us, she asserts. Pigley Girl bawls even louder. Mr. Pigley, bead red with shame, pulls out a perfectly folded white handkerchief from his left pocket and mops his brow. I warned you already. If you don't shut up right now, I'm gonna smack you so hard that you'll end up like a bug against the windshield, he proclaims stridently. The girl's sobbing now evokes a crow's cause. Up to this moment, Mrs. Pigley has limited her activities to rocking Pigley Girl and making a thorough inspection of her window. Now she begins to whisper into her daughter's ear. Giant Woman, whose 6-foot-tall body is pleated like an accordion into a seat across the aisle, has been listening to Mr. Pigley and the tourist guide with growing indignation. She squirms about while her burning gaze looks for complicity in Giant Man sitting beside her. But he doesn't take the hint and buries his head even deeper into the National Geographic article about the Mayans he has been studying since he took the plane to Belize. Then Giant Woman turns her red head and anxiously searches the eyes of the rest of the tourists. Some are snoozing, others are in a catatonic state, contemplating the cascades of water that keep falling outside their windows. Pigley Girl continues to cry. Mrs. Pigley continues to rock her and whisper niceties in her ear. Mr. Pigley continues to puff and mop his brow with his now not so impeccable white handkerchief. The tourist guide carries on with her eulogy to child abuse. Fortunately, in our country, when our sons and daughters misbehave, we can give them a good beating without fear of the consequences. And parents are not only the only ones responsible for the children's discipline. No, siree. School teachers not only have the right, but also the obligation to correct their students. If a child doesn't study, doesn't pay attention, starts to chat with other students, misses school for no good reason, etc., that teacher has the inalienable duty to discipline that child. Girls are given a beating on their hands and boys on their behind. Piggly Girl utters a screech in the pitch of an electric saw. Mr. Piggly, nearly purple by now, snorts with rage, his tiny eyes fixed on the bump that sits between the nape of the neck and the collar of the driver's khaki shirt. Mrs. Piggly is not rocking her daughter anymore. Rather, she's shaking her vigorously with convulsions of arms and legs. Giant Woman is still squirming in her seat and unsuccessfully attempting to catch her husband's and the rest of the passengers' gaze. The voice of the tourist guide, I'm going to read it all to you. The voice of the tourist guide has gone up 1 octave and is now accompanied by movements of hands that end in long, scarlet acrylic fingernails. The most effective technique is the use of a leather belt with a good buckle. Depending on the gravity of the crime, you can use the section with leather only or the section with the buckle. Then, with the pride of a soldier, displaying her war wounds to the world, the woman, with her flattened hair, full mouth and swarthy skin, anorexic body and fake fingernails, first extends her left hand while she uses the nails in her right to point to a web of whitish little worms that jump out of the back of her dark hand. Then she reverses the operation and displays the web on the other hand. I will never forget this beating, she half laughs, half shrieks. I deserved it because instead of going to school, I went to the Empire Hotel. My friend Priscilla and I wanted to see Queen Elizabeth, who was visiting Belize for only 2 days. The truth is that more than seeing her, we wanted to touch her, make sure that she's made of flesh and bone, like us. Every morning we'd sing, God Save the Queen in the schoolyard. Her photograph was everywhere, in each classroom and public office, in our own homes. We'd see her on TV, observing us with her gentle eyes and talking to us in that distinguished voice of hers. Now she was here in Belize, breathing our air, contemplating the same landscape we look at every day. Does she like our country? We were dying to ask her, but more than anything else, we wanted to touch her, confirm that her skin and her hair were as soft as silk. We dreamed of resting one finger, only one finger, on her royal crown, feel the creamy lace in her state dress. Who could have ever dreamed of such a stupid idea? She asks herself now, recovering her normal voice and shaking her head. Only 12-year-old foolish girls, of course, she concludes, her hands still stretched out, as if waiting for another round of lashes. We hardly set foot on the hotel grounds when the guards arrested us and a police car took us straight to school, she explains, and then laughs, hyena style. Now, a pair of fat tears is running down her face. I will never forget that day. We were punished with the buckle side of the belt, and our hands wouldn't stop bleeding. Piggly Girl is not screeching anymore. Mrs. Bigley has stopped shaking her daughter. Mr. Bigley is examining his shoes. The entire bus has plunged into a thick silence, while all eyes focus on the stars that crisscross the tourist guide's hands. Discipline through physical punishment is the best legacy that British civilization bestowed on us, she repeats as she pulls her hands back and wipes her face. We're here, please follow me, she sings now, her head turning and offering a set of yellow rabbit teeth to Bigley Girl. The gods have stopped crying. A dull light strives to seep through the windows. Beyond the windshield, the pyramids of Altun High rise towards the cottony cloak that blackens the sky. Okay, I'm gonna stop there, and now we can talk.
Thank you, Carmen. Oh, so such beautiful things. It's Radhika was saying on the comments that she's recovering from COVID, and nothing like a reading to soothe her after this exhausting time. And I'm feeling the same way because I'm in the same position. And it's great to have a moment to stop and to listen for a change. So we are open for questions. Anybody who wants to, or comments. So if you just feel free to open your microphones and go for it. Alma Lee, please. Do you have a question for us?
Or are you talking to me?
Yeah, did you?
Oh, sorry.
Yes, please go.
Sorry. Yes, I do. That story was staggering to me. I was brought up in a culture where that kind of punishment was normal. Not from in my family, thank God, but in the school system. And I'm just wondering, Carmen, where on earth did you unearth that to write about it?
Actually, Alan and I went to Belize, I think 14 years ago. And we were on that bus. And that's what happened.
Wow.
That's what happened on that bus. It was heart-wrenching.
No kidding.
And it was such a shock. Of course, I imagined a few little things here and there, and I composed the text in a way that would be effective. And so that took quite a bit of work and time. But the gist of the story is based on the on what we witnessed on a bus going to those ruins. Mm-hmm.
We all forget how much damage the colonization has done to so many places.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Margarita.
Hola, Carmen.
Hola, Margarita.
I love your poetry. I really do. I love reading poetry in Spanish, especially for the two greatest poets in Chile and South America, Pablo Neruda and Gabriela Mistral.
Yes.
But I also enjoy other poets in South America, like Alfonsina Storni, Juana de Ibarburu, etc. And in my mind, our language, Spanish, is so rich, so diverse, so musical even, that I always thought writing poetry in English while you're thinking in Spanish is such a tremendous task, but just listen to your poetry in English. I'm just in awe, really, because I think it's just amazing how could you, how can you be able to translate those feelings, those emotions, you know, that we feel in our native tongue to a second language? I think that's remarkable. You know, I mean, I understand that it's hard, but you can write your stories, you know, in a second language, which I do. I write a lot and I read a lot, but poetry, I think it was just superb. So that's it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I wrote a short essay quite a long time ago for a journal called Prism International that comes out of the creative writing program at UBC. And it is about, unfortunately, I don't have it handy. I looked for it, but I don't have it handy. And it talks about bilingual writing and translation. So I'm sure that if you Google Prism International, I would say about 20 years ago, and what did I call it? Yeah, I called it, I believe in reincarnation, bilingual writing, something or other. And basically what I say in that little essay is that my intent when writing in both languages is to build a house, build two houses that that house the same soul, that the materials will be different. Perhaps the way in which the materials are placed to construct this house will be different. But the idea is to preserve the soul of that house in both languages. And you're right that it's not an easy thing to do, and I'm still learning, of course. We're always learning. But it's become more and more the only way that I can actually write, because it gives me the freedom to go back and forth and to find new ideas and new meanings and new sounds in the other language. And going back and forth, then I can build on the foundation that I have created. So it's a lot of work, but I love it. It's very satisfying kind of work. It's rewarding. I enjoy it. Mm-hmm.
May I ask something regarding your collection of short stories that you are gonna publish, right? It's not ready yet?
That's a long ways away.
All right.
I'm just gonna start working on the manuscript, yeah.
Okay, just a general question then. The short stories that you are writing, let's say you are writing a story that is placed in Temuco, you know. So when you translate that into English to an English speaking audience of people that read in English, I just wonder how the English reader could really internalize the concept that we want to explain regarding, let's say, Temuco, which is such a different reality, you know, that we live here in Canada. Yeah, I always wondered about that.
I think that the writing itself will be self-explanatory. You know, I've done that already with one collection of short stories and the body to remember with, which is called the cuerpo entero in Spanish. They're the exact stories in both languages, and they work well for both audiences. Same thing with the novels. The novels also exist in both languages. Retribution also exists in Norwegian, but I couldn't tell you how good it is or not. But Atacama exists I finished it in both languages. And as I say, it's the writing itself that will make it accessible to audiences in both languages.
Mhm. Do you translate your writing in English yourself, or you have a group of
No,
editors?
I'm a bilingual writer, which means that I go back and forth between the two languages. So if I've written something in Spanish, I translate it into English, but that means that usually something gets triggered by the change of language, and the piece will expand and change in English, let's say, and then that I will have to transpose into Spanish, and like that. And I've come to call that my seesaw methodology, la metodología del balancín.
Balance.
I write in both.
Ok, muchas gracias.
Nada.
Hola, amiga.
Hola, Nino.
I was going to ask you when the Spanish version of Atacama was going to come out. You finished the Spanish version?
Yeah.
Is it available?
As probably Alma Lee will be able to tell you, these things take a long time. From the time that I finished the English version of Atacama to its publication, it took probably 2 or 3 years, right? First, to have a publisher take it. Then the publisher appoints an editor to work with you to bring the manuscript up to its most desirable condition. And then from the time that is finished, in the case of Atacama, it was another 11 months until it was actually published.
I remember asking Alan, where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
So the Spanish is finished as well. And now I'm in that, or my publisher, which acts as an agent in this case, because I don't have an agent, is putting feelers out, or has been putting feelers out to have it published in Spanish and hopefully in other languages as well. So we'll keep you posted, but it's not the foreseeable future for now.
Yeah, and I can say, as a native English speaker who is always working on his Spanish, that I have the short stories in both versions, and it works very well in English from the Spanish.
Right. Thank you. Gracias, Nino.
Jeff and Maurice.
Oh, Jeff and Maurice, where are you?
Hey, Carmen, good to see you.
Hey,
Good to see
Jeff.
you. I am so grateful for everything you just read. Muchacho and the one of the bus were just amazing. So
Yes.
Thank you so much. And I loved, I don't even remember right now which one was in Spanish and which one was in English. Muchacho was in Spanish. So
Yeah,
that,
because you're bilingual.
yeah, so that gets to my question. And I sent you an email so you can kind of address that later. But I'm just really growing in appreciation of bilingual, what it means to be a bilingual writer, because I'm seeing examples now where the other language that I don't speak, perhaps, I just watched Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I don't understand the Chinese that's spoken. And there's purposeful use of the other language to confuse people or to leave them out and to exclude them so that they feel excluded. Can you say the difference between translating and actually using the other language to exclude or make people feel uncomfortable purposefully?
right. That's not my cup of tea.
Okay,
My cup of tea is reaching as far as wide an audience as possible. I believe that I have stories to tell, things to say, and I want as many people to be able to read those. So instead of putting barriers, I try to open doors. And I can understand why some people, some writers may want to make the reader feel uncomfortable in the sense that, you know, you expect me, let's say, native speaker of English to learn your dominant language, right? And understand everything when many times I have not been able to do that. So I'm going to put you in the same position now. There, okay. Revenge in a way, right? But I don't think that way, because we are all survivors of in this continent of colonization, of imperialism, of imposition of European languages on our native languages. So I'm writing for the people. I'm not writing for the state or for the powers that be. And in that sense, I want my writing to be understood and be read as widely as possible, as I said.
nice.
Carmen, I really, this is Maurice, I really appreciated your poem on order and how writing helps you to put things in order. I found it, I've got my journals from the time I was 18 years old, and I'm now old. But every time I struggled with something, I wrote it down. And the writing has helped me all of my life make sense of my life. As you say, give order, give meaning, and help me to reflect not only on tactical or strategic decisions, but also on spiritual decisions.
Yes.
And I know your writing has been reflection on your experience in Chile and politics and the effects of big decisions, big social decisions on people's lives. And I was wondering spiritually, what kind of connection you make. I know this is a very general question, but I'm giving you a big field here to say something.
Thanks, Maurice. Jeff and Maurice are in California. Where are you guys now? Are you in the Napa Valley or still in Oakland?
Oakland.
Oakland.
Okay. And we met in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Maurice published a memoir called
Confessions of a Gay Married Priest.
of a Gay Married Priest. And I urge you to look for it online. It's great.
Thank you.
And there, of course, he deals with the kinds of issues that he's brought up today. Jeff is a playwright, and his plays have been workshopped quite a bit. And he's now going to, one of his plays is going to be actually staged pretty soon. So anyway. And
Mojo wants to meet Muchacho.
Yeah.
I know that's hola Mojo. The spiritual part, yeah. It all depends on what you mean by spiritual, right? It all depends on, I'm not at all a religious person. I'm actually an atheist, and I was brought up as such. People get surprised when I say that, because Chile is supposed to be a very Catholic country, and in many ways it is. But in my home, religion was not practiced at all. Of course, it was in the air. Of course, it was everywhere, right? And I remember for a while there when I was, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old, you know, being really scared that God was looking at me and following me everywhere, including the bathroom. Being scared shitless of what I was doing because of God always watching over us, right? And stuff like that were part of the culture, but they were not part of my family's makeup. And we never went to church, never prayed or anything like that. That changed when I was 14 because all my friends went to Sunday Mass, and I didn't want to be left out or say that I was different. So I went with them, but I found it all very strange, and I could never really get into it. The only good thing was that after Mass, we went to the square, a la plaza, where we could check out the boys and walk back and forth and wink and do things like that. That was the reward of going to Mass. But anyway, going back to the spiritual thing, for me, being spiritual is being connected to yourself and to those around you and to those way beyond around you. Is to recognize that we're all somehow in this together. At the same time, I have a hard time including in all of this together the very horrible fascistic people who believe that they're superior, that they can impose all kinds of things on us, that kill, that maim, that practice violence so that they can remain in power. So I'm not sure if my spirituality goes that far, but it goes as far as people like you and you and you and you and you and you and me that are on the same page when it comes to life, when it comes to justice, when it comes to inclusion, when it comes to arts and culture. That's where that work becomes meaningful for me.
Carmen, I want to thank Hola. I want to thank you publicly for writing Atacama, because that, as a Chilean person, that was very, very meaningful for me, and something that I did not know anything at all about. And it just brought me to a reality. And it happened, you know, as I was reading a book, I knew that I was going to something very deep, but I did not know how deep it was until I got to the end. And the way that you put together those two times was very, I don't know, I was just very emotional with that thing. And I think it was a very, I think that we in Chile have always separated the past, where all these things like the war with Peru and Bolivia happened, and all that. At least for me, you know, it was. I think I told you that my grandfather had been in the war with Peru, and he talked about it very discreetly in it, you know, but you could see that it was one moment in his life where he had been shattered by what was going on, so he couldn't let go of it. But I didn't understand, you know, I'm understanding now why the way that happened, and also understanding also my own feelings, you know, when you live in a country that has committed that kind of country of crime is very shocking, especially because we're now living here, and then our idea of Chile becomes more and more unreal. You think, oh, it was so beautiful, it was so nice, you know. And so, you know, I think that it was a good, you know, a good thing. Go back to reality, you know, and so I think it was a fantastic book and so well put together, you know, because in reality, the way that the whole book goes to that point is quite, you were very inspired.
Thank you.
With the way that worked. So thank you very much.
It took 10 years.
Wow. Yeah.
Many rewrites.
Yeah, that is very, I think psychologically, it must be a very interesting process.
It is.
Yeah, maybe one time we can talk about that, because, you know, I relate a lot to it, and I want to know why. You know, I do know sort of in general in what way you can relate to that whole story, but I feel in myself that it's been extremely powerful. So, you know, I want to know more about it.
Sure, we'll talk.
Yeah.
By the way, Lina de Guevara lives in Victoria, British Columbia. She is a fantastic playwright and community leader in the arts. You are. You had a big recognition by the city of Victoria not very long ago. She also came to Canada as an exile following the coup. And she is the senior playwright, Latinx, even though she doesn't like that term, Latinx playwright in Canada. And she was also recognized by her peers and the younger generations at a conference a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So that's Lina.
And a fantastic storyteller.
A fantastic storyteller, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I need to be the timekeeper. Margarita has one more question, and I think we are going to close with that one. And Radhika.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted
Let's
to
go
say
for
a
those two
comment
quickly.
too.
Okay. Margarita.
Sorry. Carmen, could we buy Atacama in Chile now? It's being sold in Chile?
It's not, the Spanish version is not published yet.
Okay. The English version, could we buy it here in Vancouver?
Oh yeah, you can buy it. You can go to any of your independent stores, bookstores. I think that People's Co-op bookstore has actual copies. The other ones can order it for you, or you can order it directly from the publisher. It's called Fernwood Publishing. Fernwood Publishing.
I'm finding it here, so I can put the link on the.
Oh,
I have the link.
Thank you.
Thank you, then. Thank you, Lily.
Okay. So the link to buy Atacama from Fernwood is on the chat. And Radhika.
Buenos dias and hello, everyone. Sorry, I'm not at my best because I'm still recovering from COVID here. My question is, I know for sure that I'm not a truly bilingual writer because, Carmen, as you know, I have one incomplete story in Spanish, which I started with you, and I have recently added to it with an incomplete story in English. So, so at this time, I have two stories sitting around. I find it impossible to write the same story in the other language. It seems to me it's my lived experience or perception of my experience that makes the stories that come out in both languages quite different from each other. I don't mean in the writing style, I mean the content of the story, perhaps the plot. And so I was wondering how you managed to translate your own work And the other thing I was wondering about was whether dialogue is a very important aspect of your work that comes naturally to you, because I've not read every one of your works, and I'm still to read Atacama, but I'd like to know if that's an important part of your work, because I notice it all the time, your use of dialogue.
It depends on the work, right? Depends on the story or the novel. But I think it's important to let the characters speak for themselves so that you can actually hear their voices. It also depends on whether you're writing in the first person or the third person or the point of view. It's all relative to the story that you're writing, whether you will need more or less dialogue. And I think I already answered the question about the bilingual writing. I don't feel like I'm writing two different stories when I go back and forth in the two languages, between the languages. I feel like I am writing the same story, just constructing it with different material, which is the other language. But we can talk more about it, Radhika. Radhika has taken my creative writing workshops, and that's where she was working on those stories that she mentioned.
Thank you.
We are going a little over time. If you don't mind, Carmen, we still have a couple of questions. Naturally, whoever has to go, feel free to. We are going to keep going until we are run out of this 2, maybe 3 last questions. Alan.
So I know we're over time. I'm hoping that, excuse me, Carmen won't introduce me as anything. I just want to make a comment about bilingualism and writing in 2 languages, or any of the other terms that we attach to being speakers of more than one language. And I just want to say that my experience as a young guy, learning English first and learning French next, and learning an indigenous language here in Canada called Ojibwe. What I guess I learned, and maybe it contributes to what Margarita was talking about and other people, is that really having another language, I think, is mostly about seeing the world in a different way, or seeing the world in a more complete way. And that's actually what it was for me. It was a viewpoint into the native world that I didn't have as a young guy. I had, but I didn't really have. And for Carmen, I know from our many years together that that's also what she's doing when she's writing in both languages. She's trying to see the world in that other language. And although she's writing in Spanish or in English, when it comes time to actually recreating it, she must visualize and she must see the world through those eyes, whether it's English or Spanish or whatever it is. And I think that's a lot of, I don't want to speak for Carmen, but I think that's what a lot of it is. I think that's what it is for anybody that writes or anybody that does anything really, is that you do your best to understand, because once you can see it through those other eyes, you can really understand, and you can understand what that world is, and you can see that world through those eyes instead of your own. So I just want to add that.
Thank you, Alan. Natalie.
Introduce him. I will not introduce him.
I just wanted to say thank you.
Hola.
To Vilak, of course, but to Carmen, it was so beautiful. I'm also recovering from COVID, and what a gift to be able, I was actually didn't turn on my camera because I was lying down listening to your beautiful poetry and the beautiful stories. What a gift. Thank you so much for sharing those. The legacy one specifically really, really, really touched me. I think especially in this context with, the visit of the Pope and the triggering of, all this harm that's been done. by colonialism, by the imposition of the Catholic Church. It really spoke to me today. So thank you so much for sharing that. It was so powerful. And I have a question about the children's story. Is that so? During this residency, you're mostly working on the poetry and the collection of short stories. What's going to happen to the children's story? Because that's beautiful. I would love to share that with my son.
Yeah. I may have time also to pursue that further. We'll see. But I don't have any particular plans for Muchacho yet. Well, actually, in my dreams, this is a series of stories about Muchacho. Okay, so maybe this one will be followed by other ones in which Muchacho is here in Vancouver and has different adventures. Or the other idea is that on his way from Chile, from Limache in central Chile to Vancouver, he has stops in different parts of the Wow. So we'll see. Those are the ideas that I'm playing with. You know, there's a lot of fires on the stove. Gracias, Natalie.
No, a ti, Carmen. Muchas gracias.
Natalie is a filmmaker and she's also a writer. She's taking workshops with me on creative writing.
So thank you all. We are getting to the end of today's session. Thank you so much, Carmen, for sharing these amazing new pieces with us, for your time and your kindness. And to you all, thank you once more for being here. If you'd like to keep events like this available to all, this is a free event. So please consider donating any amount, even if it's small. VLAC is a charitable nonprofit organization and donations are always welcome. The link is in the chat. And
a member.
And you can become a member. Angela can also put the link to membership. Membership actually helps you, like you can take a little bit more ownership on VLAC and help us, steer the organization by having the right to vote and by being a more active participant. One last favor, we shared on the chat a link to a survey. So that's to see how you like this format. We don't usually do lunchtime presentations, and we are starting to like that. We did a few of these and they were 1 hour long. So that's the kind of thing that we want to know how you liked. So you don't forget, please just click on the link on the chat and just take 5 minutes to answer these questions. Carmen, over to you if you have anything else to say. In a bit, we are just going to turn off our cameras, leave the chat on a little bit longer if you want to click on any of the links.
Well, I just want to say gracias, everybody. Thank you very much. Your feedback has been priceless. And adelante con todas las fuerzas de la historia.
Gracias a todos.
Gracias.
Adiós.